There was once a woman who had everything: talent, skills, responsibilities, and even success. But deep inside, she carried a quiet emptiness. She had no true friend to call her own. People surrounded her, but loneliness still whispered into her heart. And that is the reality of many today. You see, loneliness is not about the absence of people. It is about the absence of connection. A woman with no friend is not weak. She is simply waiting for someone who can see her beyond her duties, beyond her smile, and beyond the roles society has placed upon her. And the true friendship is not about numbers on social media, not about popularity, and not about being seen everywhere with everyone. It is about having even one person who listens without judgment, who understands without asking too many questions, and who stands beside you in silence when words are not enough. A woman with no friend often becomes her own best companion. She learns resilience, she discovers her own strength, and she finds her own inner peace. But let us also remember, life is not meant to be walked alone. The heart always longs for connection because love and companionship are the very essence of being human. So, if you know a woman who seems to have no friend, don't assume she doesn't need one. Sometimes, the strongest smiles hide the deepest need for a caring heart. And if you are that woman, remind yourself you are never truly alone. The world is vast, and the right soul will find you. Until then, be your own best friend, nurture your own growth, and let your silence be filled with self-love. Because friendship is not about filling a crowd. It is about finding one soul who fills your heart. Loneliness has often been misunderstood. Many think it simply means being alone, but that is not true. You could be in a crowded room filled with people. You could be surrounded by laughter and conversations, yet still feel lonely inside. Loneliness is not defined by the number of people around you, but by the quality of connection you share with them. When there is no one who truly understands you, no one with whom you can remove your mask, no one who values your presence without expectation, then loneliness quietly creeps in. A woman with no friend experiences this reality deeply. She might have colleagues, neighbors, or even family around her. Yet if there is no person who connects with her heart in an authentic way, she carries the heavy silence of loneliness within her soul. This absence of connection is not something visible on the outside. Many women who appear strong, cheerful, and full of life often conceal this emptiness well. They take care of responsibilities. They balance work and family, and they manage their duties without complaint. Yet at the end of the day, when the world grows quiet, their heart whispers the truth, that there is no one they can truly call a friend. Loneliness, in this sense, is not about a lack of people, but about a lack of meaningful relationships. Without connection, the heart feels like a house without warmth, a song without melody. The human soul longs for someone who can listen without judgment, someone who can see beyond the surface. You may have hundreds of social media followers. You may receive countless likes and comments. But none of these guarantee that you will feel connected. They are often shallow gestures, fleeting in nature, while true connection is about depth and sincerity. When a woman has no such depth in her life, she feels unseen, almost invisible, even if the world acknowledges her achievements. What makes loneliness painful is not that others don't notice you, but that no one truly knows you. In life, it is not uncommon for people to wear masks. They smile when they are broken. They laugh when they are hurting. They act confident when they are uncertain. A woman with no friend often becomes a master of wearing such masks. She may appear perfectly fine, but her soul quietly aches for a bond where she can be her raw, unpolished self. Connection is the space where two souls meet without pretense, without roles, without fear of being misunderstood. When that is missing, loneliness becomes an invisible wound. This is why it is said that loneliness is not about being alone, but about the absence of genuine connection. A tree may stand in the middle of a forest surrounded by other trees, yet if its roots do not intertwine with others, it stands isolated. In the same way, a woman with no friend may be surrounded by people, but without a deep, rooted bond, she remains emotionally isolated. True fulfillment comes not from the number of people in your life, but from the depth of the bond you share with even one. A woman with no friend is often perceived as weak or incomplete by the world. But that is far from the truth. Having no one close to lean on does not mean she lacks strength. It often means she is waiting for a bond that is real, sincere, and free of conditions. True friendship is rare and it cannot be forced. Many women, when they do not find that rare bond, choose solitude over shallow companionship. This choice does not make them weak. In fact, it often shows remarkable courage. It is easy to surround oneself with people just to feel less lonely, but it takes strength to hold out for authenticity rather than settle for pretense. Think about it. How many of us have acquaintances, people who smile when they see us, exchange polite words, but disappear when life turns difficult? Such connections look like friendships on the surface, but they are fragile. A woman who refuses to invest herself in these shallow ties is not weak. She is discerning. She knows that giving her heart and trust to the wrong person will only wound her further. So she waits. She carries her life forward, doing her duties, managing her responsibilities, often appearing strong and self-sufficient, but deep inside she keeps the door of her heart open for someone genuine. This waiting, however, is not passive. While the world may think she is friendless, she is quietly building strength within herself. She learns to handle her challenges without relying on anyone. She becomes her own support system, her own motivator, and her own source of encouragement. Every hardship she faces alone adds another layer of resilience to her character. This is why a woman with no friend should not be seen through the lens of pity. She is not broken. She is preparing herself for the kind of bond that will be worth her trust. And let us remember, in the Friendship is not about filling a void with anyone who comes along. It is about finding someone who sees beyond the outer roles. A woman as a mother, daughter, wife, professional, and values her as a human being. It is about finding someone who doesn't just see what she does, but who she is. Until such a person arrives, it is wiser to walk alone than to be surrounded by noise that has no depth. Waiting for such companionship is not weakness, it is wisdom. In fact, some of the most powerful women in history, in literature, and even in our everyday lives have gone through seasons of being without a true friend. Their solitude sharpened their minds, deepened their compassion, and strengthened their spirit. What may look like loneliness from the outside is often a season of growth from within. And when the right friend does enter her life, she will value them deeply because she knows what it means to walk without one. So, a woman with no friend is not fragile. She is discerning, patient, and stronger than most people realize. Her solitude is not a sign of emptiness, but a reflection of her hope that one day she will find a friendship that is real, lasting, and nourishing to the soul. Until then, her strength lies in her ability to keep walking with dignity, even when no one walks beside her. The true friendship has never been about numbers, yet in today's world, many measure it that way. We live in a time when people are obsessed with the size of their social circle, the count of their contacts, or the followers on their social media. But numbers can be deceptive. A person may have hundreds of people they call friends, yet not one of them may truly understand their silence, their pain, or their joy. For a woman with no friend, this truth is sharper than ever. She recognizes that what matters is not the quantity of relationships, but the quality of the connection. Imagine a woman scrolling through her phone, seeing a long list of names, yet feeling hesitant to call even one when she is struggling. Why? Because she knows most of them would not truly listen. Some might judge, others might be indifferent, and some might even gossip about her struggles. That is when she realizes the emptiness of having numbers without depth. It is like owning a library full of books, but finding none worth reading. What she truly longs for is not many friends, but one authentic bond that feels safe and real. Friendship is meant to be about depth. A bond where two souls can meet without masks, without roles, and without fear of betrayal. It is about someone who celebrates your success without envy and stands beside you in failure without hesitation. Numbers can never give this. Even if 10 people gather around you, if none of them can hold your pain in silence, it is not friendship. A single person who cares sincerely can be worth more than a crowd that only pretends. A woman with no friend often refuses to be fooled by numbers. She may be invited to gatherings. She may be surrounded by colleagues or relatives, but she knows when the bond is shallow. Instead of forcing herself into superficial ties, she chooses solitude over noise. This choice may look lonely to outsiders, but it is actually wisdom. She would rather have no friend than many who bring her no comfort. Her heart understands that true friendship cannot be measured in digits. It can only be felt in loyalty, trust, and compassion. The beauty of depth in friendship is that it brings security. When one knows they have even a single person who will stand with them in their darkest hour, it gives strength greater than 1,000 empty associations. Such a bond becomes a safe harbor in the storms of life. Without it, one may still survive, but the journey feels heavier. A woman with no friend carries this longing quietly, knowing that even if the world praises her or surrounds her, what her soul craves is depth, not numbers. The tragedy of our modern lives is that people invest more in widening their social circle than in deepening their relationships. They collect contacts but forget to cultivate connections. They chase after attention but ignore authenticity. A woman who understands this may seem isolated, but in truth, she is protecting her heart until the right connection arrives. She values quality over quantity, essence over appearance, and depth over numbers. So, the message is clear. True friendship is never about how many stand with you in the sunshine, but how many remain when the night falls. A woman with no friend knows this better than anyone. She does not seek numbers to fill her loneliness. She seeks depth to nourish her soul. And that makes her solitude not a weakness, but a silent strength, waiting for a bond that is rare and precious. Even one person who listens with empathy can be more valuable than 100 who do not. Listening may seem like a small act, but in reality, it is one of the greatest gifts we can give another human being. Many people hear words, but very few truly listen. Hearing is with the ears, listening is with the heart. A woman with no friend knows this difference well, because her loneliness is not caused by the absence of people, but by the absence of someone who can listen without judgment, interruption, or distraction. Think of moments in life when you had something heavy in your heart. You may have tried to share it with someone, but they cut you off, gave you quick solutions, or shifted the conversation back to themselves. That kind of interaction leaves you feeling more alone than before. On the other hand, when someone simply sits with you, absorbs your words, and understands the emotions beneath them, it feels like a weight is lifted, even if they offer no solutions. That is the healing power of empathy. A single friend who listens like that can make all the difference in life. For a woman who walks through life without a friend, this lack of empathetic listening is one of the hardest struggles. She may be surrounded by noise, advice, or even sympathy, but not empathy. Sympathy says, "I feel sorry for you," while empathy says, "I feel with you." They sound similar, but they are worlds apart. Empathy requires stepping into another's shoes, seeing through their eyes, and understanding their heart without rushing to fix it. That kind of connection cannot be found in numbers. It can only be found in sincerity. The truth is, most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. They are waiting for their turn to speak. to give advice, or to share their own story. But a friend who listens with empathy gives you space, lets silence breathe, and allows your heart to pour itself out without fear. For a woman with no friend, such a listener becomes more precious than gold. Even one soul who can provide this safe space is worth more than a crowd of people who do not truly care. Life is not about how many shoulders you can lean on, but about having one that doesn't move when the storm rages. If a woman finds even a single friend who listens in this way, she feels understood, valued, and no longer invisible. That person becomes her anchor, her shelter, and her confidant. Without such a friend, she may continue to walk alone, learning to listen to herself, which builds her resilience, but also reminds her of the rare treasure that true empathy is. What makes empathetic listening so powerful is that it heals without words. Sometimes, people don't need advice, they don't need solutions. They simply need to be heard fully and deeply. A friend who provides this is not just a companion. They become a mirror where one's emotions are reflected and validated. That is why even one such friend is more valuable than 100 who may be present in name but absent in heart. For the woman who has no friend, the absence of this kind of connection is what makes her solitude feel heavy. But she also learns an important lesson. Better to wait for one empathetic listener than to settle for 100 who don't. Numbers may give company, but empathy gives comfort. And comfort, born of listening, is what the soul truly longs for. A woman with no friend often develops resilience and inner strength in ways that many people overlook. When life presents difficulties, most of us lean on a circle of friends for advice, encouragement, or simply a shoulder to cry on. But when that circle is absent, a woman learns to face challenges head on, relying on her own wisdom and her own ability to rise after every fall. This process, though lonely at times, shapes her into someone who is stronger, more independent, and far more capable than she may even realize. Resilience is not something that comes in moments of comfort. It is built in moments of struggle, in nights spent in silence, and in tears that fall without anyone there to wipe them. A woman who has no friend learns to dry her own tears, to motivate herself when no one else is around, and to carry on even when the weight of life feels unbearable. This doesn't make her cold. It makes her courageous. Every time she chooses to continue instead of giving up, she adds another brick to the wall of her inner strength. Without friends to lean on, she also becomes her own problem solver. She learns to reflect deeply, to analyze situations, and to find solutions on her own. While others may seek advice from a friend, she develops the ability to trust her own judgment. This self-reliance becomes one of her greatest assets because it gives her confidence that she can stand tall even when the world feels shaky beneath her feet. In time, this strength becomes a shield that protects her, but also a torch that lights her way forward. It is often said that adversity introduces us to ourselves. A woman with no friend meets her true self in these quiet battles. She discovers qualities she never knew she had. Patience when life moves slower than expected, in the endurance when challenges pile up, and creativity when resources are limited. While others may see her as simply alone, she knows she is in training, being shaped by her solitude into someone who can weather storms with grace. Her resilience is not loud or showy, it is quiet, steady, and deeply rooted. Another aspect of her strength comes from emotional maturity. Without a friend to share every thought or vent every frustration, she learns to manage her emotions wisely. She practices self-control, finds healthy outlets for stress, and develops the ability to soothe herself in moments of pain. Over time, she realizes that strength is not about never breaking down, but about always finding a way to rise again. And each time she rises, she proves to herself that she is stronger than yesterday. Well, some may view a woman with no friend as unfortunate. The truth is that her solitude often becomes the very soil where resilience grows. She learns to embrace challenges as opportunities for growth, rather than obstacles to fear. She understands that strength is not given. It is built day by day through the battles fought in silence. By enduring her loneliness, she transforms it into a source of power, discovering that her worth does not depend on who stands beside her, but on how firmly she can stand on her own. Self-love and self-companionship can become a powerful source of peace for a woman with no friend. When external companionship is missing, she is faced with two choices: either to drown in the heaviness of loneliness or to turn inward and nurture a bond with herself. Choosing the latter is not easy, but once she does, it becomes one of the most transformative journeys of her life. She learns to treat herself with the same kindness she longs to receive from others, and in doing so, she discovers that she can be her own best friend. At first, solitude feels heavy. Silence in the room can echo loudly, reminding her of the absence of companionship. But slowly, she begins to reshape that silence into serenity. She fills it with activities that nourish her: reading, writing, painting, reflecting, or simply sitting in peace with her thoughts. She starts to enjoy her own presence, realizing that she is not defined by how many people surround her, but by how deeply she connects with herself. This shift is liberating, because once she learns to enjoy her own company, she is no longer afraid of being alone. Self-love teaches her to value herself without waiting for validation. In a world where people constantly seek approval from others, she learns that her worth is not tied to someone's compliments, attention, or presence. She becomes her own cheerleader, celebrating her small victories and forgiving herself for her mistakes. Instead of being her harshest critic, she practices self-compassion, understanding that perfection is not required for love, especially self-love. This practice creates inner peace because she no longer battles with her own reflection. When she becomes her own companion, she develops the habit of listening to herself. She pays attention to her needs, honors her emotions, and respects her boundaries. She learns that loneliness can be turned into solitude and solitude into strength. She realizes that her happiness does not have to depend on another person showing up. It can grow from the choices she makes for herself. By enjoying her own company, she becomes whole within, rather than seeking wholeness from others. Self-companionship also allows her to set higher standards for relationships. Since she already finds comfort and fulfillment within herself, she will not settle for shallow or toxic friendships just to avoid being alone. She knows what it feels like to be genuinely cared for, because she has cared for herself. This makes her wiser in choosing the people she lets into her life. She no longer chases attention. Instead, she attracts authenticity. The peace that comes from self-love is not temporary. It is steady because it comes from within and cannot be taken away by external circumstances. She understands that people may come and go, but as long as she has herself, she will never be completely lost. This realization is empowering. It turns what once felt like emptiness into a sanctuary of inner strength, where she can always return to find comfort. In this way, a woman with no friend learns one of life's deepest lessons, that the most important relationship she will ever have is with herself. By cultivating self-love and self-companionship, she transforms loneliness into peace, silence into serenity, and absence into presence. What begins as a lack of friends eventually becomes the discovery of her greatest friend, herself. Life becomes richer when it is shared, because human beings are created for connection. From the beginning of time, people have thrived not in isolation, but in community. The laughter of companionship, the comfort of shared burdens, and the joy of mutual celebration add flavors to life that solitude alone cannot provide. A woman with no friend may find strength in her independence and peace in her solitude, but deep within, her heart still longs for a bond where life can be shared in its fullness. That longing is not a weakness. It is a reflection of human nature. Moments of joy, when shared, double in sweetness. Imagine achieving something remarkable and having no one to celebrate it with. The victory feels incomplete, like music without rhythm. A true friend magnifies happiness, turning small achievements into memorable occasions and ordinary days into cherished memories. For a woman with no friend, the absence of this companionship can make her successes feel quieter than they deserve. She may still feel proud, but she misses the warmth of having someone to say, "I'm happy for you." Sharing multiplies joy in a way that solitude never can. In the same way, burdens feel lighter when carried together. Life inevitably brings pain, loss, failure, heartbreak, and struggle. Walking through these valleys alone demands great strength, but it also creates an invisible heaviness. When a friend is present, they may not remove the burden, but their presence makes it feel more bearable. A listening ear, a comforting word, or even silent companionship can ease pain in ways that solitude cannot. A woman with no friend has no such outlet, so she carries her struggles silently, often becoming stronger, but also carrying a loneliness that words cannot describe. If humans are wired for connection because we are emotional beings. We crave to be understood, seen, and valued. Isolation denies us this fulfillment, while friendship provides it. Even science affirms that strong relationships improve mental and physical health. They reduce stress, increase happiness, and even lengthen life. That is because our souls are nourished by love and connection just as much as our bodies are nourished by food and water. A woman with no friend may survive, but survival is not the same as truly living. Without connection, life feels like an incomplete story. Sharing life also brings balance. Alone, one's perspective can be limited, but in friendship, we are challenged, inspired, and encouraged to grow. A friend offers new insights, corrects us when we stray, in the end, uplifts us when we doubt ourselves. For a woman without this bond, growth becomes a solitary journey. She learns much from within, but she misses the sharpening that comes from being in honest and caring relationships. While solitude makes her strong, connection would make her whole. The richness of life is not about possessions, achievements, or appearances. It is about moments. Laughter over a shared meal, comfort during a storm, encouragement during a struggle, and companionship in silence are the treasures that make life meaningful. Without a friend, these treasures are missing. And though she may find joy within herself, she cannot escape the truth that life becomes more vibrant when shared. That longing for connection is not a flaw in her character, but a design of her soul. Smiles often hide deep loneliness, and that is one of the greatest illusions of human behavior. A woman with no friend may smile brightly in public, laugh at jokes, and appear to be perfectly fine, but beneath that outer layer could exist a heart quietly aching for connection. People assume that those who look cheerful have no struggles, but the truth is, many smiles are shields. They are protective masks worn to keep others from seeing the vulnerability within. And because of these masks, society often overlooks the silent battles women face when they have no real friend. It is easy to misjudge someone's life by their appearance. A woman who looks happy, dressed well, and confident may still go home to a room that feels unbearably quiet. She may have many acquaintances, colleagues, or even family members around her, yet none who provide the comfort of genuine friendship. Instead of showing her loneliness openly, she hides it behind a smile, partly because she doesn't want to burden others, and partly because she fears being judged. After all, loneliness is often misunderstood, and people assume that if you are successful or strong, you don't need anyone. This assumption is dangerous because it blinds us to the needs of others. When someone appears fine, we rarely check on them deeply. We ask, "How are you?" But don't wait long enough for a real answer. We see the smile and accept it at face value, never realizing that behind it may be a plea for someone to notice. A woman with no friend knows this reality well Her smiles are often a way of protecting herself from uncomfortable questions while at the same time concealing a longing for genuine connection. Loneliness is not always loud. Sometimes it is hidden behind achievements, responsibilities, and even kindness. A woman may give her time to everyone, help others generously, and appear endlessly strong. But deep inside, she wonders if anyone would ever show up for her in the same way. Her smile covers the fatigue of being there for everyone else, while having no one to lean on herself. Such women are often praised for their strength, but few realize that behind their strength lies a silent craving to be understood without having to explain. This is why we should never assume that someone who looks fine does not need support. The truth is, the people who seem the happiest may be the ones struggling the most. Their laughter is not always a reflection of joy, but sometimes a shield against loneliness. If we look closer, if we listen more attentively, we may notice the subtle signs, the silence after the laughter, the way they avoid talking about themselves, or the tiredness hidden in their eyes. These are small hints that their smile is more of a cover than a reflection of their heart. A woman with no friend often wishes that someone would see beyond her mask. She doesn't necessarily want pity, but she longs for someone to notice, to ask sincerely, and to stay long enough to hear her truth. If even one person takes the time to look past her smile, it can break the walls of isolation she has built around herself. Until then, she continues to wear her smile bravely, balancing her inner pain with outer grace, hoping that one day someone will see the difference between her face and her heart.